Today's season preview, the Chicago Blackhawks. We'll be breaking down which players are fantasy relevant, which ones are due for a breakout, which ones to stay away from. But with Connor Bedard expected to miss the start of the season, how does that impact Chicago's objective of finally taking a next step? And with their star player on the sidelines, can anyone from this young core continue to develop and take another step forward while we wait for Bedard's return? We'll see. We will find out next with our special guest, Angela Cotey from the Hockey Princess podcast. But before all that, let me remind you to follow us on social media platforms at Partial Break Pod on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube and leave us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think about our previews and join in on the conversation. Also, PBLL, which is our Partial Breakaway Listener League, is back. Registration is open. Feel free to join at any time. In the description below, you will actually see the link for it. So feel free to join. We're looking forward to it.
The Partial Breakaway Podcast with your hosts Nick and Junior and producer Vince, bringing you elite fantasy hockey information to help you win your fantasy leagues and win at life.
Episode 183 of the Partial Breakaway Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm co-host Junior, accompanied by co-host Nick, producer Vince, and a very special guest from the Hockey Princess podcast, the Hockey Princess herself, Angela Cotey.
Applause. Any applause?
Yeah.
Do we have applause?
What a great intro.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for coming on. As I explained a little bit to yourself before we actually started recording, we're very excited when we get a guest that comes on that actually follows a team, that could tell us the ins and outs of a team. Because we focus on the fantasy aspect. We focus on all 32 teams, soon to be 34 supposedly.
Yeah.
And we don't have time to kind of know the ins and outs of every single team. So having a guest really gives our listeners a little bit more context, a little bit more feedback, a little bit more information that maybe some other podcasts don't actually give. So we're happy to have you on and sharing all of this with our listeners. And do you mind sharing where the listeners could find you if they like your content? Maybe they could give you a follow and a review as well on your podcast.
Absolutely. So the Hockey Princess podcast, we're going into our 4th year this year.
Well done.
We cover everything: Chicago Blackhawks, Rockford IceHogs, the Prospect Farm teams. We cover everybody. We are on Spotify, YouTube, kind of most podcast platforms. And then you can also find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok.
Oh, very nice.
Awesome. So, you know what? Let's welcome the Chicago Blackhawks fans to this podcast. We're happy to have you. Last week, we previewed the San Jose Sharks.
You had to go there.
And they showed up and they showed out. Like record-breaking numbers for the Partial Breakaway Fantasy Hockey Podcast by the San Jose Sharks. So I don't want the Blackhawks fans to be outdone by the San Jose Sharks, right? So let's see what you got this week, guys.
And that's his pitch for more views. So let's hope it works for him.
I mean, do you really want Celebrini to outdo you?
Oh wow, that's
We're going
rough.
strong for fast, huh? Here.
Yeah.
Click rage bait.
Well, it's a very interesting year for the Chicago Blackhawks because in this offseason, we've had some movement, some record-breaking movement, I think you could call it maybe. There's so much talk in the fantasy community about what's going to happen with this team moving forward, who's relevant, who isn't, and the expectations going forward. Because unfortunately, Bedard's previous years in Chicago, now you have a superstar, but he hasn't really had that taking a step forward. He's been on bad teams over and over and over. So it's finally time to kind of let's put it all together and maybe try to compete a little bit here and give him a reason to want to come back. I mean, let's start with a very easy one for you, because I'm guessing that's what the teleprompter says here.
It's right there.
Thank you. Expectations for Bowen Byram. Okay, so what can you tell us about Bowen Byram in Chicago? He signed a 4-year extension at $12.5 million. He signed this year. He still has 6.25 this year.
Yeah.
Do you think he could live up to all of this offensively? Do you think that this is the move that they needed in order to take that step forward?
For sure. I think initially when the trade happened, I was a little surprised just because it's a big move for either side, for Chicago getting Byram and for also Buffalo letting him go. My immediate reaction was he has to sign an extension, otherwise this is the worst trade in history. My expectation for Bo Byram is that he has to be the number one defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks. Do I think that Byram is a true number one defenseman? I don't know, but my expectation is he has to be the number one defenseman on this team. And that's, time on ice, points, but also when things go bad, he needs to take the brunt of it. And so I need to see less fall on younger guys like Kaiser, Lev Shinov, Rinzel, if he starts in Chicago at the end of September. It can't just fall on the younger guys. If he wants, that number one defenseman payday that he's about to get, then he needs to step up for these number one defenseman responsibilities.
Yeah, and going back to when he was with Colorado, when right before he was traded, he wanted a number one role. Like that's what he was looking for. He didn't quite get it in Buffalo because of Dahlin, but now this is exactly what he's been asking for. Mm-hmm. And he's got the opportunity. Now he's got to do it.
Yeah, he'll certainly have the opportunity. I also think this is definitely a contract to appease Connor Bedard. Big thing for Blackhawk management is to make Connor happy, and Byram and Bedard go way back. They're very good friends. Connor was very excited for the Byram signing. So if this is a, signing to make Connor happy, I'm also fine with that. I'm a big fan of do whatever to keep 98 here.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of info that you need, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of info that we don't really have on the fantasy community side sometimes. So very good. Thank you, Angela, for that. And who else had a question?
So who loses? I wouldn't say who loses out, but if you look at the Chicago core defense right now, you have Rinzel, you have Vlasic, who's still young, Levshunov, Del Maestro, Koshinski. They just drafted Villeneuve. Do you see all these players sticking with the Chicago Blackhawks, or do you see them using some of these players to try to upgrade in other positions?
I think Vlasic stays. I think Levshunov stays. I think the Byram acquisition helps Levshunov the most.
Okay.
I'm a big Artie defender over on our show. Mm-hmm. I think he needs more time. He's a bit of a project, and not in a bad way, but just the kid's played in a different league every year of his development. So he's going to take, a bit longer than somebody that grew up with a bit more structure with their development. Ethan Del Mastro and Kevin Korchinski, I really have no idea, especially because they're still unsigned and they are no longer waiver exempt. I think whether Korchinski stays in Chicago or whether he goes, that needs to be decided this offseason. I think, our general manager needs to, is he a piece here, or if not, needs to move on for Kevin Korchinski. And I think, if anything, it may be Ethan Del Mastro that misses out the most, because I think, Sam Rinzel is still going to be waiver exempt, so he's still able to go down to Rockford, and I do think that's where he starts. Okay. Not that that's a bad thing for him, but I think Rinzel will start in Rockford, and Ethan Del Mastro is probably the one, if any of the younger core, that is kind of the most affected by this Byram acquisition.
Do you believe that Levshunov was rushed in the NHL? Because I remember when they drafted him, a lot of people were saying to send him back for one more year to the NCAA. Do you feel he was rushed and that's why he's kind of struggling?
No, I think if anything, Kevin Korchinski was the one that was rushed. I'm a big firm believer that Kevin Korchinski's career suffered at the pride of Blackhawk management because he was the first pick in this rebuild era. So it was very much a like, look at the future, look at this bright, shiny, great kid from the WHL, and then kind of just like put him in the NHL with a skeleton squad of a team that first year. I think Artie will be fine with a bit more structure. I think this year you already saw a little bit of strides in his game this past season. I think this will be a huge year for him, especially because he spent the entire offseason practicing in Chicago. He didn't, go out on the golf course in Ontario like a lot of the other players, or I think he just went down to Florida for like a little bit, but he was here, practicing and on the ice for the majority of the off season. So I think, fingers crossed, this is a big year for Artie.
It's a very young decor. Other than Ian Cole, they're like 25 or
it's a very
years
young,
old or younger.
It's a very young team.
We're children.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's move to the forwards. I have a question because I own this player in many leagues. So last
You
year,
own shares of him. You don't own the player.
You know what? In our world, we own the
Shares.
human. So last year, Frank Nazar was shot out of a cannon. I remember that really hot start, 14 points in 18 games played. Then he fizzled and came back strong towards the end of the season with 14 points in 20 games played. Inconsistencies are expected with young players, but for those of us who are impatient like me, how good can he be? And like, what's his ceiling in goals or points, do you think, watching him day in and day out?
I think his ceiling is second line center, and that's kind of my expectation for him, especially with Anton Friendel coming in. I think that pretty much solidifies Nazar being second line center. I'm also of the mindset that he needs to be better this year. He had a great start, but also the first 15 games really don't matter much to me in my world because everybody's still figuring it out. Your team's figuring it out, but so is everybody else trying to gel with new people and new dynamics. But Nazar was also hurt. He also had a broken jaw for a portion of the season. There was a absolute nasty stomach bug that ran through the team. I want to say right around the holidays that ended up we ended up calling up goaltenders from our ECHL team. It was a skeleton crew for a little bit, which gave Drew Comesso an excellent, opportunity to shine. But they definitely went through waves where, they're not to pull the injury card, but there were periods of time where a considerable amount of them were out on injury too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It all falls within the middle of the season where he kind of dipped, and I think so did the team at the time. So.
Well, you kind of mentioned it a little bit. And because I own shares of Anton Friendel, I might as well just throw it out there. I mean, you did mention that Anton Friendel might be the reason why Nazar is kind of solidified as that second line center. What are you expecting out of Friendel? Where do you see him playing, or what kind of upside do you think he has?
I think he has the most immense upside of anyone on this roster. I'm a big fan of Anton Friendel. I think the kid's an absolute stud. Starting at the beginning of the season with Connor Bedard being out, I do expect him to be the number one center for Chicago. If I had to put a top line projection, I would assume it's going to be Anton Friendel, Roman Kanserov, and then maybe a Tyler Bertuzzi or some sort of veteran presence on that top line. His ceiling, I don't know in the best way. He really impressed me when he came over at the tail end of the year. I think he's incredibly mature for his age compared to, some of the other kids that are coming out of juniors, making the jump over. And his vision of the ice and just the way that he can see pockets where you're not necessarily seeing that from some of the other younger core is incredible. I think the sky's the limit for Anton Friendel in particular.
He was one of our crushes in that draft. I know he
Yes.
was my crush.
Well, wait. I own shares of Bedard right now. Okay. So my question is, if Rundell is center number 1, Nazar center number 2, are you seeing Bedard as a winger
Yes.
once he comes back? So you don't see him going down the middle at all?
I think it'll depend on what he wants. I think if Connor Bedard is like, no, I am a center, then Jeff Blashill is going to be like, okay. I do think it would benefit Bedard to move him to a wing with the shoulder injuries that he's had in the past. Like this is, we had the one out against St. Louis. Now the other one's out. Does he need to be at the dot? Does he need to be taking the faceoffs and be in such a vulnerable position? I don't think so.
That's fantastic.
He might be more effective on the wing.
Yeah, exactly. Less
defensive
responsibility,
Usually.
which means more offensive output. So that's fantastic. For fantasy owners on it, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into very quickly what the offseason recap was. We wanted to kind of get those, I think, storylines, hot topics out right away so the listeners could hear. But let's move into our regular format for these shows, which is our offseason recap. So you mentioned there's Jeff Blashill. There's no change in the coaching tree for the Chicago Blackhawks. Who's out? Ilya Mikheyev, Andrei Burakovsky, Matt Grzelcyk, Lucas Crevier?
Louis Crevier.
Are you sure you didn't make a mistake this time too?
I did. Well, it's not Lu. It's Louis. But
okay, Louis Crevier. Last time, by the way, we got called out because I said Jeremy Lin instead of Ryan Lin for the San Jose episode. So
you also said
the comments on YouTube were very kind to me.
You also said Daniel Nurse,
and I said Daniel
times.
Nurse instead of Darnell Nurse. Anyways,
we're a fantasy hockey podcast, apparently.
Yes. So you know how YouTube comments can be quite nice to us when we make mistakes like that. And it was all his teleprompter's fault. So. Who's in? Patrick Kane, the second coming of Patrick Kane, number 88. Bowen Byram, which we quickly mentioned earlier. Ian Cole, Jordan Greenway, and Cole Smith. So, I'll just ask you very quickly, because any of those names really stick out to you other than Bowen Byram, who we've already spoken about?
Oh, it's got to go with the second coming of Patrick Kane. Showtime's back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't think it was going to happen. You hope, of course, someone that grew up in the dynasty era, you hope maybe he comes back. But you think, Buffalo's home. Buffalo's hot right now. And then there were, some previous Chicago Blackhawk players that were talking like it's between Buffalo and Chicago. That is it. And so we were holding out a little bit more hope. But I think it's going to be great. I know a lot of people were frustrated with the contract that he got. Chicago Blackhawks fans are very big on worrying about contracts when we have so much in salary cap, which I don't really understand. And it's also Patrick Kane. Pay him whatever he wants. There's also the possibility, it's a 2-year deal. He's 38 now. Is this it? And, if it is the final contract, it's the last bit, he ends here, he retires a Chicago Blackhawk and not a Detroit Red Wing, then so be it. I'm thrilled. Yeah. I think he, is going to be kind of put in maybe at the first line, maybe at the second line, especially at the beginning of the season. I think he is going to be huge for Frank Nazar in particular. I think that should be very fun to watch. But that's probably the other big one in terms of pieces that are coming in that I'm very excited for.
Well, I want to go into the team recap because there's one or two areas here that I think Patrick Kane is actually going to severely help in. Yeah. So the record for the Chicago Blackhawks last year was 30. They were 31st in the league with 29 wins, 39 losses, 14 ties. Goals for, they were 30th with 210 goals. Goals against, they were 27th with 270 goals against. Power play, they were 29th with 16.9%. And penalty kill, they were second, surprisingly, with 83.6%. Unfortunately, you can't win
With penalty
games
kill?
just on the penalty kill. But if it was a race for the best penalty kill, I mean, you would have made the playoffs for sure.
Well, now it's going to hurt a little bit more that all of our penalty kill pieces are either with the Edmonton Oilers or the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that's about to to go inverted really quick.
The Mikheyev was a big time penalty killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And Dickinson too, right? Was it
Yeah,
Dickinson?
we have Dickinson and Connor Murphy.
Connor Murphy. Connor Murphy.
Connor
He's not
Murphy's
on this
big
list,
loss.
but yeah.
Because it was a deadline deal.
It was a deadline deal, so we're only talking offseason. Anyways, the goals for, but mostly the power play. I mean, that's where I see this number 29th like climbing with Patrick Kane in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you see the first power play going? Like personnel wise, we know Byram should be there. Kane should be there. So without Bedard, who's filling in the rest?
I think Frondell's on it. I think I'm not at the beginning of the season. I think it's going to be a little bit of just shuffling everybody around and seeing who's clicking. But I think Frondell's there. Bert's either on the first unit or the second unit, in that kind of like right by the goaltender position that he's excelled at with this team. I think he's there. NASCAR's second unit. But I would say definitely Frondell's going to be on that top line. And then I think they will kind of play around with defensively who's going to be that, defensive piece. Or my nightmares come back and we're running a 5-forward power play again, which I really hope that doesn't happen.
I'm not a fan.
No,
I'm not a fan of the
me neither.
5-forward power plays. I know that
It almost never works though.
fantasy managers think that it's a great thing, but like you said, I feel like the numbers don't prove that it works that well.
No.
Yeah, when she said Nazar on power play too,
Well,
my heart sunk.
look, personally, I mean, Nazar, Frondell, you're going to have to pick, right? You probably won't be able to have both, but to me, Nazar is the type of player that, like he's well nicknamed NASCAR, he's a fast player. He's great off the rush. You're not on the rush on the power play. On the power play, you need a little bit more creativity. You need a little bit more vision. He's good at that too, but I just don't think that maybe there's some other guys that are at a higher level than that. That's all I'm saying.
And I do think, the big question mark going into the season, another player that we haven't talked about is Roman Kanserov and kind of where he fits in with the team. And, NASCAR might get bumped down to the second power play unit, but I also think that's maybe where Kanserov starts out. And hopefully things start clicking with the two of them. And it's not necessarily, it's more of like a power play unit A and B versus like 1 and 2.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Oh, they finally have a bit of depth because of all these young players, so they can afford to.
They're going to be a fun team to
switch
watch.
it up a little bit,
Yeah.
And we haven't mentioned him, but there's Nick Lardis who's got a pretty good shot, so he's a good half wall option. But
There's going to be growing pains because of the youth of this team. There'll be some growing pains.
But I don't think that they're not looking at playoffs this year. They're just looking to take a step.
yeah, to show improvement,
Be harder to play against. Be a little bit more
Competitive. In every game.
That's it.
in every
Well
game.
said. Well
right?
said.
I mean, unless Angela, you tell me that no, they're making the playoffs, and that's going to be your bold prediction for this year, and then we can just skip right to the bold.
What I want quality games after the All-Star break. My bold prediction is we are fighting for a wild card spot with 3 weeks out.
Whoa, nice.
I like it, but that's good. That makes sense, right? You're maybe not there, but you're in the mix.
In the mix.
In Montreal, we had that going for a long time. Yeah. We're just in the mix. All right, let's move on to our tiers and our projections moving forward. So we're gonna just mention a couple of what our tiers are first, and then we'll go into who the players are and maybe just have a little bit of a talk on each one of these players. So tier 1 for our projections is Fantasy Star, which we call somebody that has point per game upside or higher. Then we have tier 2, which is our reliable starters, which is anywhere from 70 to 81 points, let's say. Then we have our supporting cast, which is from 60 to 70. and our streamers that could get you anywhere from 45 to 60, but kind of
Because
get
they're
hot.
inconsistent, yeah.
They're inconsistent, but they might get hot during a certain time. So you want these guys for streamers. We have a tier 5, which is players to avoid, but we're going to probably edit that out because we're not a mean people on this podcast, you know. We don't want to avoid
We'll keep it for
anybody.
the Jeopardy round.
Okay, we'll keep it for the Jeopardy round. All right, so tier 1 fantasy star right off the bat, we all know it's number 98. You mentioned that he is not leaving, and we're trying to make him happy. So let's get Connor Bedard in there as our fantasy star on this team. Now, he is going to miss some time, Angela. Do we expect there to be a huge drop-off? I mean, what can we tell our listeners about Connor Bedard's injury and what our projection should be for him?
I wouldn't say a huge drop off because of when the injury happened. I think if it happened later in the off season, or if there was something, going into training camp, it was, I believe, the beginning of July that it happened. I think, he's gotten quite a bit of time with this off season. He, unfortunately got hurt at the right time. So I don't expect a complete drop off. If any, I would say, mid-November, he should be back.
That makes sense.
And just to add, he had, I looked at his stats for the first half of last season. He had 44 points in 31 games. I think that's pacing for almost 115 points.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Come on. Then, he got hurt, and I think in between there and the ended with 31 points in 38 games. But Connor Bedard went from taking 2.4 shots on goal per game to last year 3.3 shots. So he's shooting more. I don't know if playing on the wing a little bit more helps that as well. But I can see him being a 100-point player easily this season, even if he misses a couple of games. Do we know how long he's out for to start?
They haven't given a full, it was like 4 months, right, when he got injured. So we're figuring, I would figure right before like American Thanksgiving, that the week prior, he should be back.
So about a month and a half.
So that's November.
Yeah,
not
November.
October here, like here in
Not
Canada.
Thanksgiving, Canadian.
So that's a month and a half.
The real Thanksgiving.
Yeah. 2 months.
is
2
in the
months.
States.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe not 100 points this year, but he could be pacing for that for sure.
He might be pacing for it. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to reliable starters. And let's talk a little bit about Patrick Kane, which we mentioned before. We're excited to have him back. I'm talking like I'm a Chicago fan, but I love this team right now. And I own shares of Patrick Kane in one of our leagues.
Showtime.
So $8 million, like you said, it's a little bit hefty of a price, but it doesn't matter to Chicago. Should it matter to fantasy managers? Are fantasy managers playing in cap leagues going to get a return on this investment?
I think so. I think the expectation for Patrick Kane when he comes in is to be, kind of whatever they need him to be. Put him on the power play, put him on the, the first line, the second line, put him wherever, and also put him wherever in the power play itself. I mean, Patrick Kane can play pretty much every position on the power play and has for many years. So I think he's definitely a reliable, piece to have. Is he going to put up numbers like he did, 13 years ago? No. But, he's definitely, I don't see a drop off. I think if anything, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a little bit of like beginning of the season surge of the just like riding the juice of being back in Chicago. But so you got to have Showtime on your team.
Absolutely. I'll just mention the next one, and then I'll have Vince mention the next two tiers. So reliable starters. The last one that we have that we believe is going to be a reliable fantasy starter, simply because opportunity is going to be there. Friendship and the power of love will be there as well. Bowen Byram has come to Chicago to start and most likely take over power play 1. What are our expectations for Bowen Byram kind of moving forward here?
I think 2, take over power play 1, 2, time on B, leading the defensemen for, time on ice and points for the Chicago Blackhawks. That's kind of my baseline expectation for him. Would I be surprised if there's a little bit of a dip or it doesn't go off to a complete easy start at the beginning of the season? No, because I do think, coming from the system of Buffalo to Chicago is going to take a second to learn. But yeah, otherwise, like after, I want to say maybe like the first month or so, I do expect, number 1 defenseman for Chicago.
So our next tier is the supporting cast. So it's between 60 and 69 points. Now we got 3 players there. We value for rookies, what we value for rookies is that if a rookie could hit 50 points, it's a really good season for them in their first season. So in the supporting cast, we have Nazar, Frendel, and Bertuzzi. Which ones of these 3 do you think can hit between the 60 and 69 points this year? And can Frendel do it on his first full year?
I think Frendel can totally do it on his first year. Wow. He's probably the one out of the rookie core that I would say with the most confidence that he could do it. I think Frendel can definitely.
You're making our co-host over here very, very happy right now.
I think we could just end the podcast here. I mean, this is the perfect podcast for me so far.
And what about Nazar? Can Nazar, because like Junior said, Nazar did get on a hot streak last year. He ended only with 41 points in 66 games. Will he be able to take a step forward this year in point-wise?
I think it's a big maybe. I think if we get Nazar at the beginning of the season, then yes. I think if we get Nazar from the second half of the year, I don't know. There were definitely some stretches, not immediately like coming back from injury, but there were definitely some stretches throughout the season that his performance was a little below expectations for what Chicago fans have of him. So I think, if we get, comes in with a clear head, is kind of a repeat of the beginning of the season last year, then definitely if we're getting, February and March Frank Nazar, I don't know.
Let me defend my boy a little bit here, okay? Let me just defend my boy a little bit here. He was a little bit unlucky as well. Slightly. Yes. So, because in where are we here? In 66 games, he finished with 15 goals, but his goals above expected was a minus 4.1. So he was technically expected to be at 20 goals in 66 games. So, over time, it balances out, right? Sometimes you're unlucky, sometimes you're lucky. Next year, he'll be lucky, and he'll be perfectly fine.
Sometimes you're good, sometimes you're
I don't know if I'm trying to convince him or myself, but anyway.
I'm trying to convince yourself.
Sorry, just one more advanced stat, if you will. Tyler Bertuzzi had a goals above expected of only 1.7, and he finished with 30 goals.
So that was my next question.
That's impressive.
Is Tyler Bertuzzi's goals going to suffer because of the people behind him, like a Kanserov or some of that? Or is it going to be steady because they added a Patrick Kane to the team?
I think if they suffer, it's not due to his performance. Okay. I don't see him, taking a swan dive or anything with his performance. I think if he is getting less than he typically was, I think it's because Blashill and the coaching staff is trying to give, Kanserov, Lourdes, if there's any new kids from Rockford that are getting a call up due to injury, if Oliver Moore does a great showing, I think that would kind of be the main reason if we do see some, a dip in points from Bertuzzi, it's because the young kids are really taking over. And I think that's a cause for concern if Bertuzzi's on your fantasy team. As a Chicago Blackhawk fan, it's not a cause for concern because Bertuzzi was brought in this bridge period. So if he's having less points because the kids are doing well, that's okay in my book.
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to finish off?
Yeah. So, and in our streamers, which is basically people that we think are going to have ups and downs during the season, we have Kanserov and Lourdes, like we mentioned. They're two really young kids getting their first cup of tea in the NHL. Which one of these two are you more confident can handle? I know Lardis has a bit more experience right now, but which one of these two do you think can handle the NHL tempo and, game?
I think it's Roman Kanserov. I know Lardis has had, definitely has a handful more of NHL games, but Roman Kanserov is also coming from the KHL. Like he is coming from a league where he's already playing against grown men, where Nick Lardis was coming from the OHL where he's playing against, other like 16 to 20-year-olds. I love Lardis. The upside is very high with him. I think defensively needs quite a bit of work, but I also think Kanserov is a huge question mark. But if I have to pick one, I'm picking Kanserov just because he's coming from a league where he's already playing against, guys bigger than him, older than him, with more experience than him.
Okay. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, listen.
All right, so we're going to take a 25-second break here just for a word from our sponsor. So, Junior, take it away.
It all comes down to this. Will Frank Nazar prove me right this year and outdo his fellow colleagues? Only time will tell. DraftKings Sports app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. Sweat every shift of the series in all one place with one app. New DraftKings customers sign up with code THPN. Spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
With DK Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, that text pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over. Void in Ontario. Event contract trading with DraftKings predictions involves risk of loss. Sportsbook bonus bets expire in 7 days. $50 in predictions dollars issued weekly for 3 weeks expire in 1 year. Redeem one non-withdrawable reward. Availability varies. Predictions offer void in New York. Ends June 28th. Terms at dkng.co/audio.
All right, let's move on to the goalies because they matter too. So what's the Chicago Blackhawks goalie situation like? And let me start by saying who they have. So their three goalies are Spencer Knight, Arvid Soderblom, and Drew Commesso. And what I want to know is, does Drew Commesso, because I own shares of him, does he have a legit shot at cracking the lineup as the backup to Spencer Knight, who we know is their legitimate starter?
How have you won?
Because Commesso is not my starter yet.
No. And I think it will benefit Drew in the long run. I think this is the final year of Drew, having most of the net down in Rockford, and we're going to see the Knight and Bloom tandem. I think this just benefits Drew even more. Going back to another Blackhawk favorite, Corey Crawford was down in the AHL for so long, and that's exactly what I want to see for Drew Commesso. I do not want an early pull-up, barring, if there's any injury or another stomach bug this year, then that's a separate thing entirely. And many have different opinions on the Spencer Knight trade, but I'm a firm believer of the Spencer Knight trade was there to benefit Drew Commesso, so he can be in Rockford as long as he needs to be. My expectation for Drew is to be in Rockford and get, I'm going to say, about 90% of the starts for the AHL season. I'd still like to get, Adam Guyon a little bit of the net just because it's his first year in the AHL and I'm a huge fan of the kid. But I do think that it's going to be Knight the majority of the time and then Bloom as the backup for Chicago.
Well, last year, Knight had 55 games played. So, we're talking about somebody that's pretty much the goalie of the Blackhawks.
And for fantasy, that's good volume.
It's pretty good volume nowadays. And don't forget, he still had a goals against average of under 3, which we've seen some starters have over 3.
And save percentage of over 9.
That's right. So he actually had a very good year. If you look at all the stats and quality starts and all that.
In fantasy leagues that don't just rely on wins for points and, they take into account the save percentage or goals against average, he's a really good guy to have.
The only trepidation I have.
Just, by the way, Crawford from our good
Yes, from here. From
up here.
Yes, he is from Montreal. what I wanted to say, which you totally threw me off of that, by the way. Spencer Knight. What was I saying?
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it was smart.
Before
Yeah,
Nick,
probably not.
Before Nick. So, do you think Spencer Knight is the goalie of for the future of Chicago, or do you think he's just there until Comesso's ready and then Spencer Knight?
I think he's there until Comesso's ready. I think Comesso is the future of goaltending. I think the Chicago tandem that we're going to get down the line, because also please do not rush Adam Guyon either, is going to be Drew Comesso and Adam Guyon at the end of the day.
So those are the two goalies you think that they're gonna when they're ready to compete at that stage, it's gonna be the Comesso and Guyon showing nets.
I think, once they start getting into playoff contention, I think it's going to be Knight and Comesso. And then by the time they're like real hot, then yes, it will be Comesso and Guyon.
How impatient were Blackhawks fans last year when they saw Comesso play? Because he was really good in those 3 games. I think it was against Pittsburgh. He had a shutout with like maybe less than 10 minutes to go in the third or something. Because I'm obsessed with my players.
It was beautiful.
Nashville.
It was absolutely beautiful. I'm biased because I was sitting there around all of the upset Nashville Predator fans. I don't know if they were necessarily impatient or if they were just happy that Bloom wasn't in net, because for some reason the Blackhawk fans have a bone to pick with Arvid Soderblom, which has he been amazing? No, he's been like the sacrificial lamb as far as goaltenders as of recent. But, it definitely was impressive compared to his call-ups the year prior. I think more fans now just know of Drew Comesso, and he's certainly starting to make more of a name for himself for Chicago Blackhawk fans. But we're not impatient just yet. I think they're plenty impatient about, for other forwards and defensive prospects that Drew still has time.
Yeah, so now I finally remembered what I was going to say. And that's that Spencer Knight, for those of you going in 0G strategies, he's somebody that you could target late that will play a lot of games, so the volume is going to be there. The only thing I would be a little bit skeptical or have some trepidation of, which it took me a long time to find that word, and you guys
trepidation.
Trepidation.
Wow.
I use that.
It's a few times now you bring your thesaurus to work.
I try. So Spencer Knight, there's so much change on the defense. The defense is so young, and losing some important guys like Connor Murphy, right? You kind of say to yourself, well, there's a little bit of risk at the beginning of the season, especially as he's trying to figure out his new defensive pairings and how his defense plays in front of him. So that's the only trepidation I have. I'm using it 3 times for Spencer Knight. And so buyer beware is all I'm saying. All right. We move on?
That does it for goalies. You can go straight to prospects, my friend.
All right. So this list is the list of relevant prospects for the Chicago Blackhawks. For you dynasty leagues out there, some names that you should know about. First of all, the whole team is super young, so everybody could have been listed as a prospect here. But we're going to talk about some guys that haven't really had a fair shot at the NHL yet. Ryan Rubrek, who was drafted this year. We were very excited about that draft pick. Mason West was drafted the year before. We were very excited about that draft pick as well, but for different reasons. We're football fans also, that's why. John Mustard, best name in the NHL.
I put him there because I know you love his name. So.
The best name in the NHL. Kevin Korchinski, who we own in several leagues.
Shares of, Nick.
Shares of. I'm so sorry. You're absolutely right. Shares of Kevin Korchinski in several leagues. And another guy from Chez Nous, Xavier Villeneuve, who we really are, a high risk, high reward type player. You never know what he turns into, but he's one that to look out for in Chicago. And lastly, Adam Gajan, who Angela has spoken about as well.
In case the new listeners haven't picked up on it yet, we're a fantasy hockey podcast based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, which is why we make the reference of these Quebec-born players as players from home.
Yeah, sorry. So also we should mention that the QMJHL is one of the worst developmental leagues in the world.
Absolutely terrible.
And we are so upset with the QMJHL that whenever one actually does get drafted, we're quite excited for that one player. So anyways, back to you, Angela.
Still a long shot.
Still a long shot. Anything you could tell us about any one of these players and who you haven't spoken about before, I guess.
Well, I'll start off with one of my favorite football players, and that's Mason West. We have two former football players for the Chicago Prospects.
Oh, really?
Mason West and then AJ Spellici, who should be hitting Rockford this October. Mason West, I'm very intrigued just because this is going to be the first year where he's spending 100% of his time focusing on hockey. So I don't know, what he's going to look like. I think it benefits him that Michigan State is absolutely stacked right now.
Oh, yeah.
So not only is he going to get great development, but he's also going to be playing with other high talented draft picks from either his year or like the year after or a year before. My expectation for Mason West is 2 years at Michigan State, and then we'll reevaluate.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to be too critical on him just because I think he was definitely a swing for the fences pick his draft year. So who knows? We'll see what, a year or two in college looks like for him, and then decide if we're, super excited or a little scared.
A player with those circumstances needs a long-term development process. It's not something, he looks good, let's put him in. No, like just let him get that experience because he had to split his time into sports. So I'm just glad he's not going to the Indiana Bears. He has no chance of being drafted by the Indiana Bears. No, right? Are they moving?
Yeah, they're moving, unfortunately. Next.
Is that official or no?
Yeah, it's official. They're moving.
They won't change their names, though, was it? Are they for
No,
real?
they're not changing. They're not changing the name, which, yeah.
Thank God.
I think the whole city would implode if they actually changed their name.
All right, back to hockey, guys.
Next, we got John Mustard, who I think is one of the more interesting prospects. I know a lot of people were surprised that he's going to go back for his third year at Providence College. I think that has more to do with how well Providence College has been doing in past years. And I know that they got knocked out a little bit prematurely during their postseason run. So I think it was kind of just, do I want another crack at, college playoffs, playing with my friends, or playing in Rockford in the absolute middle of nowhere, in the middle of cornfields? And he's like, you know what? I'd rather just hang out with my friends. And I can't blame him.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Rohrbeck and Villeneuve, again, both of them, I think because they were drafted this year, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to have too much judgment. Rohrbeck, I love the size, especially because so much of our top end talent is like 5'9". So really anyone above 6 foot, I'm a little excited for. It's too early to tell with him. I think with Villeneuve, there's a lot of ooh and and everyone's excited by the flashy. I am a little hesitant about drafting defensemen out of the Q League, I'm going to be honest.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, I like the Q League. I've gone to games up there. My favorite, one of my favorite players got drafted out of the Q League, so I can't completely hate them, but I'm just a little hesitant when it comes to drafting defensemen. I think it'll also be huge. He's going to Boston University this upcoming year, and I think that either will help him or hurt him, because I think jumping to college typically helps players, but also Boston University was kind of a giant hot mess last year. So if they're still a mess, then I don't know how much that actually helps him. If Boston University is able to kind of get back to what they were, at least, behind the bench and as a system, then I'm very curious to see how his development goes.
I feel like it's the Lane Hudson effect. In the sense that like too many teams passed on him and now probably regret it. So the second they see something like slightly similar and that has a chance to be something like a Lane Hudson, they're like, oh no, we can't pass on that. I don't want to be the team that passed on him, right? So
I would say both Hudsons.
Tommy
even
Blale,
Cole Hudson.
Blale too in Nashville, Villeneuve, Ryan Lynn. These are all guys with similar characteristics. But yeah, I just feel like that's why people are nervous, because this hasn't happened in so long that these smaller defensemen are getting drafted a little higher.
Yeah, I was surprised you were about to say little people.
Yeah, little people like me.
This co-host, I swear, one day he's going to get me in trouble. I just wanted to mention on Ryan Rubrick, you're absolutely right. The whole Chicago team scares me in the sense that they're all small. Like Bertuzzi is the kind of guy that really his size sticks out because everybody else is small around him. So you need Bertuzzi to stick out. Rubrick is going to help us, I think, especially in the third line. If he could be a third line center for you for years to come, I think that's going to be amazing for that. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Angela, on Adam Gajan before we move on to a quick Cap League recap, and then we're going to play a little Jeopardy game?
I'll speak on Guyon just for a little bit, just because I've been able to kind of watch him in his development, be it when he was at the USHL and at the collegiate level. I'm very excited for him going into Rockford. I think from his freshman year to his sophomore year that he just finished up at UMD, he took a ginormous step. I think at the end of freshman year, a lot of people were like, how is he going to pan out? I don't know. And after sophomore year, because not only did he play a great sophomore season with UMD, but he pretty much started every game for University of Minnesota Duluth, went to the Olympics, played at Worlds, and then played at the Gretzky Cup. So he also just played a ton of hockey and had the ability to just watch and be mentored by a ton of NHL players throughout the season. So I'm also really excited to see how he takes all of that opportunity that he had this past year and takes it to Rockford.
Yeah, I'm excited about this player too, and I think you had shares of Gajan as well in one of our dynasty leagues. This is somebody to look out for. Comesso obviously being the main one, but there's no telling if Gajan could become something in Chicago or elsewhere once he does develop. All right, so we are a fantasy hockey podcast. We are also a podcast that deals a lot in cap leagues, just like our partial breakaway listener league, which we affectionately call Pebble. So our Pebble League, we always look at caps and how the salary cap affects certain players' values. We mentioned Bowen Byram. So this year he's still at the 6.25, but then following years after that is going to be 12.5. So that's a little bit of a hefty contract if he continues doing what he did in Buffalo, but he will have more opportunity now in Chicago to really run that power play. So
it's very strange because I kind of looked into it. I wanted to know more about Bowen Byram's season, and because he had career numbers. Every single aspect of his game was a career high. But when you look at the underlying numbers, everything is very average, like very middle of the pack, which is not bad. It's very good. So what do we expect from Bowen Byram? Is he the career high player, or is he the average type? Because now he's going to get more opportunity than he did in Buffalo. But at the same time, how will that affect his underlying numbers? It's a very confusing situation. I don't know where I stand on Bowen Byram yet. But everything you've told us so far, I think, will help me make a final decision.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bowen Byram is a little bit of a controversy right now because of that huge contract. But if you look at how other teams are paying defensemen after that contract, it looks like everybody's giving out those 10 million or more contracts. And if you are the number one power play guy, right, it's something to, you're going to get paid.
Yeah, it's an extra chip on his shoulder too, right? Prove people wrong.
Yeah. Angela, any last words on Bowen Byram before we move forward?
No, I think he's going to do great things in Chicago. I think his salary will be less of a controversy once Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes do their re-signing. I think Byram stuff is just going to be completely buried.
And my co-host here happily just informed me of the bomb that my other co-host
tried to set
me up with by adding Darnell Nurse in this, which he is not a member of the Chicago Blackhawks, but he tries to sabotage me as the host whenever it's my turn to talk, and I actually get feedback from listeners about that.
You're welcome, Nick. You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
Were you actually going to say that?
No,
That would have been interesting.
Spencer Knight, 3 years at $5.8 million. I mean, goalies that play a lot should get paid. And I feel like this is a good contract. Like, do you have any qualms about Knight?
I like it. It's like Jet Greaves. It's like I feel like he's a tier below the Swaymans, the Ottingers.
There might be more qualms when his next contract comes up and what he's asking in his next contract.
Well, he's got
right
this
now.
year and next year at that contract still, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's 2 or 3 years left. Let's double check that. No, he's got 3 full seasons left at this contract. So
With the cap going up too, that contract looks nicer and nicer.
And
every
Chicago getting better. I mean, the wins are going to go up too. So I think, especially in dynasty leagues in which we play, I think Spencer Knight is a good get for sure, especially at that salary.
All right. Well, Nazar, and this is where I really want Angela's opinion. So Nazar is a little bit
He's
of
the
a
best.
risk.
He's the best, and it's the best contract.
Okay, all right.
He's going to score 40 goals this year.
So Nazar is a player that obviously has had one season of info to base our salary projections on, and he goes ahead and signs a 7-year extension at 6.559 million AAV. So Angela, is this one of the reasons why you're projecting him as a second line center? Because the salary makes sense for a second line center, or do you think he could outperform that? Like, what are we thinking about that? Like, this could be an amazing deal in the next few years.
I think it's a very great deal for Frank Nazar. I think he got exactly what he wanted from Blackhawk management, and I think it's a great deal for him. I think he, definitely probably had control of the room and of the situation and got what he wanted. It makes me a little worrisome that once the contract's up, he's able to just walk.
Yeah.
Him and Connor Bedard are able to hit UFA status at the same time, which I don't think that both of them will walk at the same time. They're going to stay here forever, and it's going to be great.
Exactly.
Agreed.
But I
That's
think
up to Davidson, by the way. If he builds something nice around them, they'll stay.
If he's still there.
Yeah.
he's here forever. He's here forever. I think it's a great one for him. There really isn't, I don't know, with the amount that we have in cap room right now, there really isn't a contract that I can label as a bad one because we have so much money to spend. So it's like, why not? Who else are we spending money on?
No, I mean, that's a great point.
I thought of putting Patrick Kane as a bad contract, but I really don't think it's a bad contract.
$8 million. If I don't think it's a bad contract either. There's nothing I could say.
Maybe the extra year they added, you want to argue that?
He'll get
Fine.
top 6 minutes. You'll get power play 1. So fantasy wise, that's all you're looking for in a player. You're looking for a player who's going to play power play 1,
But you're also
play
looking
top
for
6.
points, right?
Yeah, but he's gonna put them up.
We believe that he could
Yeah,
still put up 70 points in a
Even
season if he
60
gets
to
all that.
65 points.
Yeah,
It's
still,
Yeah, for $8 million,
20 power
with
play
the cap
points
going
or
up.
so. I mean,
We really need to finish that project that we have going.
yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a nice one to announce. We're just gonna tease it now. All right, moving on to our award-winning game show. This is the partial breakaway Jeopardy run, where Vince, Nick Jr., and Angela are gonna select one of the categories, and they will say a number based on like $500 category if you're really convinced in it, or $100 category if you're not so convinced in your take, and give us one of these categories. We have must draft, draft if value drops, a late round flyer, a watch list guy, avoid at all cost, or breakout candidate. Should we let Angela go first? You think you're going to be good to select one of these, or you want a little bit of time and I'll have one of my co-hosts go first?
I can go.
All right. This is confidence. The confidence oozing out of this. I love it.
I'll go must draft for, you said it's between 100 and 500.
Yes.
I'll go must draft 400.
Oh, I like it.
Anton Frundell.
I love it.
Oh, gosh darn it.
Love it. Love it.
That's amazing for a 19-year-old. It's gonna be fun
know
to
what?
watch this year.
The talent is
But you
there,
guys,
man.
he
The
is
talent
a must
there.
draft. He really is a must draft. I agree with her.
And not just
100%.
Dynasty.
No. I
he-
think he can put up. I think he could hit 60 points easy this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And that would be great for a rookie, in the league. All right. Vince,
Yeah.
category, please, and dollar amount.
Junior's not gonna like my category because I think he wanted that one. But one, I would say, avoid at all costs. Teravainen. I feel he's lost his place on this team in this wing. He's might get PP2, maybe not. I feel Oliver Moore is ahead of him in the rankings. So at this point, I think Teravainen is avoid at all costs.
Is that a $500 category? For you?
Yeah, $500,
Yeah.
100%.
So you're really confident in that.
Yeah.
All right. Junior.
I'm gonna go with no, not taking Frank Nazar. Take it easy, everyone. I'm gonna go with breakout candidate for 300
Mm-hmm. Kind of in the middle there.
in the middle. Oliver Moore.
All right.
Oliver
We haven't
Moore,
spoken about him.
Yeah, we haven't spoken about him. Another player I own shares of.
Of
Catch the trend here on these
This
episodes.
is what tells you, Angela, that we're in way too many fantasy leagues over here. So.
No, so I mean, if you look at his numbers, last year wasn't great. 5 goals, 14 assists, 19 points in 51 games. Only 21 years old. He's very fast. And the word was that he had a hard time managing and adapting to the NHL with it, like combining the NHL and his speed to make it all make sense. But as the season went on, he improved on that. And was it the World Championships he played with the U.S.? He looked really good at at the World Championships. So I'm thinking he takes those strides next season and gets close to 20 goals, which would be nice.
What do you think of Oliver Moore, Angela?
I like him if he stopped flying the zone pretty much every other game. If he works on that, then I'll have a definitely higher opinion. I think he needs time. I would have liked to see him in Rockford for the full season and not the call-up, but I think that can be said for a couple of the younger kids that I think it would have just benefited them to stay down in Rockford for a little bit. But I think the potential is there. I think he's a great third-line center, and it's kind of my expectation for him now and at least for the next couple of years.
That's why it was 300, because he's not like a star projector, right? Like I didn't want to think that I'm projecting him to be a top 6 forward.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. You understood the name of the game.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I went to school.
Well, all right.
Nick,
At least
you
somebody
left.
did. I'm going to take Alex a watch list for 400. And watch list for 400. Alex Trebek, by the way. You looked at me kind of weird there.
Canadian guy, I think.
Another, yeah. All right. Watch list for 400. And I'm going to go with Kanserov. And I think that in Dynasty leagues, he's going to be drafted. In leagues that, you have a rookie draft, he's going to be drafted early.
Oh, yeah.
But in other leagues, like redraft leagues or category leagues, he's going to be slept on a little bit because people are going to say, well, first of all, we don't know what he could do. He's only 22 years old by the time the season starts, and I think that he actually has a chance to put up some points, especially if he starts hot. Maybe this is a guy that you had on your watch list. You go out there and you grab him right away and put him in your lineup because he might stay hot long into the season. So that's my watch list, guys. Anything we want to add on Kanserov, or are we good to move forward to our last award-winning segment, by the way?
Do you think you'll have an immediate impact? Like
Kanserov, I think he'll have an impact, but it all depends on.
I think the Patrick Kane being signed
kind of
lowered my enthusiasm a little bit on Kanserov.
Yeah, but which is fine. Like, do you agree that if Kane wasn't there, Angela, they might have been rushing Kanserov into a position that he was not ready for?
Not to put words in your mouth.
Yeah.
I think there's already still potential that they're going to rush him.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen him play a game here yet, but we're already being told that he is guaranteed a top 6 position. So that to me already, I get a little tense, with that rushing verbiage. But absolutely he would have been rushed more if Kane was not there.
One thing's for sure, with all the players that can play top 6 minutes, training camp's going to be fun. A lot of players are going to be fighting for a spot, so that could bring an extra step in their game, and Man, motivation
Competition.
Yeah, motivation competition can bring a whole other thing out of you.
All right, let's end the episode on the bold prediction, and then we're going to sign off because we said it was going to be a 30 to 40-minute episode. Poor Angela has been here past an hour now because there's just so much to talk about for Chicago.
Exciting.
It's exciting.
Yes.
I love this
Well,
team.
that's why we wanted to guess, because we knew
That's true.
that this team was going to be
We were
exciting
very
to talk
selective
about.
this year on which teams we wanted to guess for that could really give us some insight. So Chicago was definitely one of them because of all of this. All right, so bold prediction for the year. Let's start with Vince this time. Vince, can you tell me what your bold prediction is?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with this team is gonna score more goals. He's not gonna be so dependent on being the number one offensive defenseman. So I feel Levshunov 40 points more this year.
Ooh, I like it.
That's pretty bold.
like it.
Music to my ears.
Finally, music to someone else's ears besides Nick and Junior.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my boy. I'm gonna go with Frank Nazar. Yeah. This is he's gonna score 35 goals this year.
Okay, so bold predictions has turned into silly predictions. All right,
I
Angela.
wanted to say 30, but I felt like it wasn't bold enough, so I went 35.
Angela, what would you say a bold prediction for the Chicago Blackhawks this year?
We're battling for the wild card within 3 weeks of the season to go.
Love it. Love it. I think it's bold because the team has been bottom for 3 years in a row now.
And they're in a division with Colorado, Minnesota. Like, it's a tough division.
It is a tough division, absolutely is. But it's going to be bold if it actually happens.
All
So
right.
I like that one.
Let's hear this Frondell bold prediction of yours.
Yeah.
Soldier.
No, I'm not going to go with Frendell this time. I'm going to actually go with Spencer Knight. And I believe, because I love my goalies. You know I love my goalies.
Yeah.
I believe Spencer Knight will play 60 games this year.
Wow.
Have 6 shutouts, which is
Whoa.
double what he had last year. And also have a save percentage of .920.
Jeez, that's a Vezina numbers. Oh, you didn't want to be.
I didn't want to go Vezina because I went Dostal last year for Vezina, and then he was a bum. He was a bum, I tell you.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, guys, that was pretty. I mean, those are some pretty bold predictions. We don't always go super bold, but this was pretty damn bold.
Angela, thank you very much for coming. Can you please remind listeners where they could find your podcast and what you've been working on lately?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find the Hockey Princess podcast on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Also on most podcasting streaming platforms. We do an episode every Thursday, and then we'll do Mondays and Thursdays going into the season. And we are just going to start our division predictions this upcoming week.
Oh yes,
Love
tune in
it.
for that.
Love
Yeah,
it.
grab your guys' number one.
Yes, hopefully. That's a big hopefully.
Blackhawks fans, fantasy hockey fans, don't forget to tune in and watch our. Let us know. What do you think of our bold predictions, or what are your bold predictions? Let Nick know. Frendell might not make it halfway through the season, so might get sent down. Right?
Like, subscribe, listen to us. Also, like and subscribe the Hockey Princess as well. Angela, thank you once again
Thank you
for
so
coming on. Guys, registration is open for the Partial Breakaway Listener League. Link is going to be in the description below. Last year, I think we had 60-something teams. We're hoping to increase that even more this year. So we had a lot of fun last year. It was great right until the end.
Yes.
All right, peeps.
That was great.
Have a good night. Thank you again, Angela.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
That was fun.
It was fun.